Oh, we should be good to go. All right. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our second virtual reading. So we hosted our first one during Small Fair and really liked it and figured we'd give it another shot. And if this seems to take off, we could potentially be doing a monthly or bi-monthly themed reading. So the first one is an F-bomb reading. So I hope those of you that are here are not shy to the F word, because we are going to be fucking dropping F-bombs all night long. Just want to start by thanking all of our readers. So we have 9 readers today or tonight. We'll be doing intros for each one. They're going to take an opportunity at the end of the reading to drop links in the chat. So make sure you have your chat open. They will link you to their books if they're out already, if they are ready for pre. Yes.
Excuse me, honey. We have a porn star here showing off his thing. John, you might want to cut them off.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They heard it was an F-bomb. You know,
I got
they
it.
heard
I'm
it was
sorry.
an F-bomb.
All right.
They took it literally.
Wow. All right. So they should be gone now. Are they gone now? Thank you. I'm on speaker view because I'm recording.
Their name is still there, but the video's not there anymore.
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, if you guys happen to see that again, let me know, please. I appreciate that. Jeez. All right. So I forget where I was. So we were talking about putting people into, or putting the books into chat. If they don't have books out currently, but you can pre-order, they will give you an opportunity to pre-order, or you can put in, as the author, you can also put in your author link. The readers are all on mute, so just make sure you also take yourself off of mute when it is your turn to read as I do your introductions. And I think we're just gonna have a fucking fabulous time. If I get bombed again, we will take care of it. All right, so here we go. We're gonna get started. Our very first reader for tonight is Donna Vorreyer. She is the author of To Everything There Is, out in 2020. Every Love Story is an Apocalypse Story, 2016, and A House of Many Windows, 2013. All from Sundress Publications, as well as 8 chapbooks. Her work has appeared in Baltimore Review, Tinderbox Poetry, Poet Lore, Sugar House Review, Waxwing, and other journals, and she serves as the associate editor for Rhino Poetry. Donna, the floor is yours, and thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here. I'm going to read 2 poems tonight from my second collection, which is Every Love Story is an Apocalypse Story. And I'm going to start with a short and classy fuck, and then we'll have a longer, little bit more raunchy fuck. If that sounds okay. All right. The first poem is called Trigger. Through the bedroom window, a burst of cloud and setting sun hovers like the aftermath of some silent bomb, its destructive path slow and spreading over hours, a shroud, much how a forgotten memory waits in your veins until a sudden spark explodes it back into life, a shotgun that loads itself, and you can't help but excavate the gore, dig around for shrapnel to pluck as cure, as if a thought could be removed, which you know is impossible, yet unproven. So you try to tie it off. Holy fuck, the bleeding. And you know you cannot die from memories, but the pressure on your skin feels safe. So you pull tighter and begin to feel a better pain, at least a kind you understand. And God, there's still that light at the window, that fucking ball of light. That's my fuck sonnet. So you don't see too many of those. And the whole collection is kind of about the really crazy dissolution of a relationship. And this one's called The Alphabet of Indecision. There is no easy way to say it. Words are useless, though there are so many. Cantaloupe, Armageddon, undulating. I sort through the thesaurus for some assistance. Blight, catastrophe, disaster, eruption, fiasco. This will take a long time. I call and say, where are you? You have no reply. Words flop and prattle their way around my tongue and make no sense. I am not ready. I am crying, and you do not respond. You are an asshole, a bastard, a cocksucker, a dick. I have no trouble choosing those words. I wade through piles of reference books, text circling my ankles like tattoos. Grief, Holocaust, Inferno, jailbreak, kill shot, letdown. None of these are accurate. They are blurry, imprecise, lack proper weight. I need a word that settles like a shot put in my palm, one that needs to be spun and thrust, not just tossed. I call you and say, where are you? Answer me, damn it. You try, but can't. My hands are empty. I deserve more than this. You are a motherfucker, a ne'er-do-well, an oaf, a prick. You can't help but be a little jealous at my vocabulary. I fill spiral notebooks with options. Quake, rock slide, sucker punch, tsunami. I research other languages to see if words will resonate, but most of it is untranslatable. I should create a word for what this is. Perhaps I should create a whole language, a whole number system, a mountain of hieroglyphs. It might take less time, but I call you and say, where are you? Where the fuck are you? And your silence is a hammer, a dart, a knife. I call you useless, a vacuum, worthless. These are not the right words, but they are something. They are xylophones ringing amidst tubas. They are yellow fireflies in a vast black sky. They are zephyrs when they should be hurricanes, but they are all I have left for you. Thank you.
That was awesome. Actually, that was fucking awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for being our first brave reader. All right. Next reader, we have Alice Kaltman. She's the author of the story collection Staggerwing and the novels Wave House and the Tantalizing Tale of Grace Manaugh. Her new novel, Dogtown, is out soon, June 1st, from Word West Press. Her stories appear in numerous journals, most recently Lost Balloon, The Pinch, Joyland, and Bull, and in numerous anthologies. Alice lives, writes, and surfs in Brooklyn and Montauk, New York. Welcome, Alice. The floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Donna, that was amazing. That was really cool. So hard to follow after that. Anyway, I am going to be reading from my new novel, Dogtown, which comes out June 1st, and I'll put the link in afterwards. I was going to put the link to the launch, but I'm a little skeptical about putting it in the chat. But if anybody wants to, information, there's an Eventbrite sign up thingy that I can send you the link to, but I'll send you a link to the book because I don't think they can pour in like the link to the book. So this is a novel that has 6 main characters, and I'm gonna read a section that's the section of a character named Brady Cole, who is a washed out, almost has been Hollywood actor who has recently just had his last show, which was like a police procedural called Signet, canceled. And so he's really he's sort of like, he's a mess and he's not getting any offers and his life is falling apart. And this is the section I'm going to read is when he finds out about something that's going to completely change his life and is actually going to bring him to the town of Town, Towne. So this is a section that's called It Comes to This. Brady first learned about Tamago from his sort of friend Cal, a guy who had played the supporting role of Travis, the alcoholic snitch on Signet. One day, seemingly out of the blue for Brady, but not for those who were paying attention, Cal landed the lead as a closeted gay father in an edgy cable sitcom that became an off-the-charts critical and commercial success. They were at Brady's Topanga hideaway, sitting poolside with Brady's dog Angus. "Tomago changed my fucking life," Cal claimed over drinks. This was right after Cal had been nominated for a Golden Globe. Signet was headed for the trash. A few weeks earlier, Brady's third wife, the model Vibeke Handke, had left him and Angus to move back to Copenhagen, a city where she claimed all men appreciate a powerful woman with strong, big bones. Brady nursed his third bourbon while Cal sipped iced chai through a straw. Angus was happy, as usual, to lay his big muzzle across Brady's hairy toes. According to Cal, this dude Tomago had originally been a hedge fund manager named Ted Moskowitz, who'd escaped indictment in 2008. Tomago is totally honest about how dishonest he used to be, Cal explained. He hightailed it to Indo, where he planned to hide out until he could return to Wall Street. He was going to hang out, smoke weed, get laid by smooth-skinned native chicks, maybe learn to surf. "Sounds fucking good to me," Brady said. He wiggled his toes under Angus's jowls the way the dog liked. Angus had been especially needy since Wiebke's desertion. Now, instead of sleeping at the foot of the bed, Angus burrowed deep under the duvet and laid diagonally across Brady's torso with his grody dog butt close to Brady's face. Brady didn't have the heart or energy to move Angus. Plus, most nights he was too hammered to care. "Yeah, but that's not what went down," said Cal. "Instead, Tomago met a shaman who imparted the wisdom of the beauteous man, the teachings Tomago now shares with us all." "Beauteous man?" thought Brady. Sounds like the name for a new cologne or a dildo. "The basic rules are no sleeping around, no watching or playing any sport that involves a ball, no red meat, no cursing at anyone but yourself, and above all, live a life of beauteous compassion." Brady had no one to sleep around with at the moment, so that was an easy sacrifice. It was baseball season and Brady was a football guy, so not watching sports would be easy for the moment. But for the occasional game of tennis ball fetch with Angus, he hadn't actually played any ball sports for years. Red meat would be hard to give up, but as long as he still had Yolanda to cook his meals, amp up the chicken and fish with her Mexicali spice blends, Brady could live without his burgers and steaks. Compassion? He could muster some of that up, probably. Not cursing, however, would be fucking hard. "How long does this all last?" Brady asked. Cal shook his head. "Dude, it is like forever." Forever, thought Brady. Permanence was not a concept he had much experience with. "Saved my marriage and my job." Cal sucked the last bit of chai. "My offers are fucking off the charts, bro." Signet was kaput. Brady had no offers of his own. Wiebeke had filed papers. Soon he would no longer have a wife. All he had was Angus, the Topanga place, which he would probably lose in the divorce, and a dwindling liquor supply. "How much is this going to set me back?" Brady asked. This Tomago was a former finance guy, after all. Cal quoted a sum that might have once seemed absurd to Brady, but after years of cushy living, it was a mere pittance. "Okay, I'm in. Sign me up, dude." Brady poured the icy dregs of his bourbon onto the pool deck. Angus took a few licks and then settled back atop Brady's foot. "Welcome, beauty bro," said Cal as he leaned in to give Brady a full-on bear hug. Brady would soon learn that there were none of the usual non-committal dude-to-dude displays of affection among the beauteous. No one-armed tap on the back type hugs, domination handshakes, or the ubiquitous fist bump. It was all full frontal hugging, as if every beauteous man was someone's Italian mama. "Oh, and Brady, you're going to love this. Once you've been through initiation, you get to wear a really cool outfit. A white caftan with a really excellent little cap. Wait till you see it. It's fucking outrageous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. And you got to check out the chat. People were complimenting you on your voices as you read through. Fucking phenomenal, lady. All right. Next reader, we have Gint Aras. He has been trapped on planet Earth since 1973. He is the author of 2 novels, Finding the Moon and Sugar and The Fugue, and the memoir, Relief by Execution, A Visit to Mauthausen, winner of the Memoir Magazine's 2021 Memoir Prize. His short works have appeared in such places as the St. Petersburg Review, Reimagining, Lit Reactor, Hypertext, Quarterly West, Antique Children, and others. When the world is not suffering from a pandemic, he splits his time between Chicago and the Baltic coast. Welcome, Gint. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just wanted to mention Alice. That was beautiful. Alice and I are published through the same publishing house, if I'm not mistaken, right? Tortoise Books. Is that right? Yeah. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Alice before, but everyone else here is new to me, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say tonight. And I am going to read a short story that is titled "It All Ends with a Shriek." All Lithuanian villages lacking a peeping Tom experienced garden variety fucked up shit over their histories. Aras. Folks did bill lessons.
Hornbaum.
Yeah, could we get
Lisa.
Hornbaum here?
I am so sorry. I got it.
I've never been heckled that way.
I'm so sorry. Okay,
There's no way that would happen in a bar, right?
I'm not letting anybody else in, I promise.
I'm wondering about Kathy and Reagan.
I have been watching them.
Okay.
Yes, I've been watching.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Gint, go ahead.
That's okay. This is all part of the exotic fun here. So let me read that sentence again. All Lithuanian villages lacking a peeping Tom experienced garden variety fucked up shit over their histories, but those populated with at least one peeping Tom were fucked up in their own way. In the case of Lestmujer, a village of 30 people nestled between a bottomless black lake and a forest sheltering bloodthirsty beasts, the peeping Tom, his name was Tomasz, happened to be a locksmith. The key to understanding why people put up with his peeping episodes behind the saunas, at the lakeshore where the maidens bathed, and behind the rectory where priests liked to lie out in the fucking sun is that most Lithuanians of any social class were hardly prudes, but had seen each other naked countless times. It barely mattered that Tomasz got off while staring from some bush or at the cottage window, but what people found fucked up was that in those desperate late hours when keys ended up lost or locks rusted shut, there was never any telling where Tomasz could be. Of course, Lord Pizdis, master of the expansive Shikna Manor, no fewer than 100 serfs working his land, lost the keys to his meat cellar on the coldest night of winter, temperatures falling straight to hell on the longest fucking night of the year. The cellar was the Lord's meeting ground for trysts and liaisons with his mistress, the young and ever-white Zhiba, her bosoms like drifts of heaping snow, rump like a pair of moons. Her orgasms were fits of shrieking, sounds more akin to the agony of torture than ecstasy, and so the mead cellar provided her and Pizdis the only possible place to muffle the sounds of their lust. That, and she had a thing for stone beakers, the very kind Pizdis used as vessels of fucking mead. My dear lady, he faced Zhiba, I'm afraid we'll have to meet some other night. You scoundrel, you frump-tack, you will produce means to open the cellar door with all speed. What could Pizdis do? He summoned his 2 best servants, Linas and Pimpis, trustworthy because they were illiterate and had their fucking tongues cut out, to find Tomasz. It was so cold that the horses refused to leave the stables, and so our hero set out on foot to find the peeping Tom. Yet the servants imagined they might have one advantage this night, For what peeping Tom, even one as dedicated and possessed as Tomasz, would take his voyeur's perversions outside to stand at windows and freeze? No. He was someplace warm, which meant only one thing. He would be at the serfs' fucking orgy that took place in the second room of the stone cottage each year on the longest night of fucking winter. This orgy was a writhing nest of human flesh to shock Caligula or Henry Miller. They found Tomasz by pulling back the curtains of the room. There he was, naked save for a woolly cap on his bald head, hidden behind a curtain near the wood stove. They showed him a note. Your presence is required at the Lord's mead cellar. It took little effort to open the lock. Pizdis might have been wealthy, and he might have sported a fucking boar's snout for a cock, but he was also appallingly stupid. It seemed the Lord had left the cellar key hanging on a hook only meters from the cellar door. In mere moments, Tomasz had cleared the obstacle to Zhyba's orgasm, and now the peeping Tom could return, followed by Pimpus, to the serf's orgy, where a game of rope and plow had already begun. Zhyba shrieked, horrible pleasure, the stuff of 1,000 sins, enough to turn the heads of deities and demons. This was the kind of pleasure that made life beside a black lake and evil forest vaguely bearable, especially when that very night the Syrian armies were marching west. Already at the Lithuanian border, every village behind them razed, everyone slaughtered, efficient skill, a murder machine that knew only utter devastation. Burning, wrecking, slicing, shooting, they dragged sleeping people from their beds and hacked through the ice of the bottomless lake to drown them in bitter water. And they chased the surf orgy into the woods where beasts devoured everyone, Pimpus, Linas, and Tomasz as well, before they could freeze to death, leaning naked against trees. The Lord and Zhyba were still engaged when the ceiling of the fucking cellar disappeared as if lifted away, and then Syrian soldiers peered down at them, merciless, stupid, but unstoppable. So, this is what it's like to be from those regions. Just when you think you've got things arranged in such a way that you can be left alone to enjoy and explore, assholes from fucking abroad come to blow you to bits so that your shrieks blend in with those of everyone else, and there is nothing all that fucking special about them. Someone is left to tell the story, though they are not its main players, just unfortunate lords with stone beakers on their nightstands and sudden solitude in their village, once so colorful, now nothing but ash, snow, and echoes. This is how all stories, even smutty ones, in that region end. Thank you very much.
That was great and strangely fitting for the sex bombers that we had.
Oh yeah, it was foreshadowing, man. It was. They knew how to introduce.
Thank you so much for reading, Gint.
Cheers,
I
Lord.
appreciate it. All right, our next reader is Gwen Goodkin. Gwen is the author of the short story collection A Place Remote, published by West Virginia University Press. She has twice been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and has won the Folio Editor's Prize for Fiction, as well as the John Steinbeck Award for Fiction. She has an MFA in Creative Writing from the University of British Columbia. Welcome, Gwen. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to Francine for representing California over there. I see your shirt and appreciate it. Hey, I'm reading from my book, A Place Remote, which came out in 2020, the year of the plague. So I'll be reading a story called The Key, and I must apologize, it only has one fuck in it. So I think Gint made up for all that though. So here we go. The Key. I have a couple friends in school who are latchkey kids like me. We all know, better than the kids who spend their afternoons with someone, what it's like to be scared of our own houses. A creak, a sudden knock, the snap of an icicle will send us running. Where to, we aren't sure. We just sprint. The big difference between me and those friends is that all of their parents are alive. I'm the only one whose dad is dead. My friends and I get on separate when I catch sight of the crooked pine at the corner of my street. Every time I see that tree, my body starts a countdown of the exact number of seconds I need to get to the bathroom. I move to the empty seat behind the driver so I'm ready. I stick my hand inside my coat to unfasten the key from the safety pin, and I can tell by how quickly the pin moves, how thin it feels. The key isn't there. I hurry down the steps of the bus and cross the street. The cold makes the bones in my hands hurt. Fresh snow covers this morning's dull snow. It looks stiff and tricks me into thinking I can step on it, that sure, I can take the shortcut across the yard, but I drop through. The skin of my ankle is wet. The wind is a burn. I check under the rock and no spare. I'm on my front porch and I have to go so bad I can't hold it anymore. I grab a handful of pants and underwear and force it up my front so I can walk. I reach for the door and try the knob, even though I'm sure it's locked. The knob turns. I pull my hand away like it's been stung. Did I forget to lock the door this morning? I'm not completely sure because this morning seems like any other. But then I remember Jimmy, the push-ups. I was in a rush. The urge to get to the bathroom is so strong, I feel like I might throw up. I open the door a crack, then a little wider. I search the dim for movement or a noise, but the house is quiet and still. Jimmy? Before school today, my brother and I were in the kitchen and his muscles were out. Even though it's winter and Mom calls herself the heat miser, Jimmy refuses to wear a shirt. He says he's hot. I say he's showing off the muscles lined up on his stomach like straight teeth. Dawn, he said, watch. He put an arm behind his back, did some quick push-ups against the table, then he switched. I looked at him like I couldn't have been more bored. Big gym test today? He stood up and flexed, smiling huge, pleased with himself. He pulled a box of cereal from the cupboard and poured in a mouthful. He went to the fridge, got the milk, and opened his lips just wide enough to add some. I checked the clock, 6 minutes till the bus. Jimmy ate and smiled, milk running down the side of his chin. Who needs a bowl? A piece of cereal flew from his mouth and landed in front of my orange juice. Gross, I said. I have to leave now or I'll miss the bus. I washed my glass in the sink and set it on the dish towel. He was blocking me. I could have gone around, but if I did, he'd get annoyed and tease me, and then I'd really be late. Whatever you do, he chewed and chewed until he finally finished, then jabbed his finger at the front door. Do not open that fucking door when you're here alone. He wiped his chin. Got it? I nodded. He jiggled the window and made sure it was locked. And don't forget the key. About a month ago, when Mom found me rinsing the hem of my pants in the laundry sink, she said, can't you wait till you're inside to go? I do wait. I sprayed stain remover on the hems and rubbed. Sometimes I forget the key and I hold it for as long as I can, and I just can't anymore. That's why I go behind the bush. What if someone sees you? No one sees me. Then she said, it isn't that difficult, Dawn, to remember the key. She didn't care about the key, really. She only cared that her boyfriend, Mitch, and the neighbors knew her kids did dirty things like pee outside. When Mitch moved in, Jimmy gave him a chance. They watched hockey together and talked about football. But little by little, Mitch started to act like he owned the place, like we were living in his house, instead of how it really was. First, we couldn't eat macaroni and cheese for dinner because Mitch didn't like cheese. And pretty soon, the only thing on TV was the news. Then what I think really set Jimmy off was that he took Jimmy's parking spot and Jimmy had to start parking off the alley in the back. I complained to my brother that I didn't like Mitch being there. Jimmy only shrugged that he said he wasn't home much and he'd be gone soon enough, so would he care? But I knew my brother. Jimmy and Mitch pretended not to notice each other, but really they were like a pair of wrestlers circling, waiting for the first one to make a move. One night after dinner, I passed Mitch reading the paper at the kitchen table and went to the bathroom. Just as I was pulling up my pants, he opened the door. I dropped and crossed my arms over my lap. Sorry, he said, shutting the door. I didn't realize you were in here. When I came out, he was back at the table reading the paper like nothing happened. Jimmy was at the sink washing a casserole dish. He glanced up at me. He knew, same as me, it was no accident. He went back to scrubbing and I made my way to the family room. Soon Mitch wandered in, sat in his chair and turned on the news. Then Jimmy came in with his jaw twitching, went straight for the remote and changed the channel. It seemed like Mitch was going to let it pass, but he said, it's time for the news. Switch it back. What's so important that you have to know, said Jimmy. Isn't there anything else on TV? Dawn doesn't need to see this junk all the time, murders and gas station robberies. Do you pay any of the bills in this house? Because I do, said Mitch. I pay the cable bill, and that means I will watch whatever I want. Turn on the news. Oh, you pay one bill and you think that you run the place? Mitch leaned over and snatched the remote from Jimmy, who stood next to Mitch, arms crossed, smiling down at him. Then Mitch opened his can of pop. Diet pop is for pussies, said Jimmy. Mitch jumped up from the chair, grabbed Jimmy by the t-shirt and slammed him against the wall. Do not call me that, said Mitch. I saw in Jimmy's eyes he was about to beat Mitch to hamburger. Do it, Jimmy, I said. They both looked at me. Do it. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Thank you.
I should say fucking awesome. That was awesome. All right. Next reader, we have Irene Cooper, whose writings appear in the Feminist Wire, Phoebe, Utterance, Denver Quarterly, The Manifest Station, The Rumpus, Witness, and elsewhere. She is the author of Committal, a speculative spy-fi, that's a tongue twister for me, about family from Vegetarian Alcoholic Press 2020, and Spare Change Poems from FLP 2021. She lives with her people and a corgi in Oregon. Irene, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Lori. And thanks for, oh my God, this reading is so great. I do want to read everything. I thought I did, and now I know I do. This is Committal. My friend Bridget Lewis has done all 3 books I've been involved in the art forum, and I'm very grateful. I'm just going to read from this, no real context, except the Lucy in this chapter is a young woman who was lobotomized at 13 and very unexpectedly came out a genius and is in charge of this large corporation at this point. Lucy and the Word. Lucy touched a spot on the beveled edge of the table and a holographic screen came to life mid-room. The image revealed a view of the latest version of her global positioning software, Searchlight, soon to be adopted by corporations and governments worldwide. This was the future, visible and suspended for a few final days in her office. She recited under her breath, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." No, she thought, it wasn't any fucking word that came first. It wasn't some reckless thing, ill-formed and half understood. No. In the beginning, there was light. Then came the nothing, and then the fire, searing, cauterizing fire. After came the word, the words, endless tangles of words stuck in your teeth, clogging your ears, lodged in your throat, binding your wrists, lost in your brain. Words to lure you into dark places, words to still you. Lucy did not herself speak until she was 16. In her oldest memory generated, she believed, in utero, she recognized the sound of her mother's voice, but distinguished no specific language, no words. Instead, she experienced the sound of her mother as positioning, as place. After the lobotomy and the therapies, Lucy could speak. She developed a voice, and with it, an extraordinary vocabulary. She developed as well, according to her medical team and anyone who spoke with her, an unprecedented grasp of the nuances of speech. In a single year after she began to speak, Lucy could converse fluently in all the Romance language, as well as Arabic, Russian, Farsi, Japanese, Mandarin, Hindi, several Inuit dialects, any language introduced to her, in fact. It seemed all Lucy had to do was converse with a native speaker for an afternoon, and she learned not only the rudiments, but the subtleties of a tongue. It was an extraordinary gift, not one that was anticipated. The men who came to the Institute to speak with Lucy sometimes left weeping, moved by the way teenage Lucy's grasp of their native tongue recalled a grandmother or a whole lost village. Jasper and Lucy met somewhere during this burst of loquaciousness. He too felt weirdly understood by Lucy, seen in a way that made him feel stripped. Unlike the medical team and various so-called experts, Jasper never confused Lucy's acumen with wisdom. He had no ancestors to resurrect, no generational thread, no stories, no village. Jasper was not amazed so much by what Lucy said as by how she held her body when she said it. He saw her genius, yes, but he immediately recognized Lucy's skills as a bit of brilliant wiring, precariously housed in an undernourished and feral frame. He did not ascribe companion feelings such as compassion and empathy to Lucy's gift, as the team was fond of calling it. There was something dangerous in the way she accepted their praise. She bowed her head, fingers entwined, the shy supplicant, seemingly overcome with gratitude and humility as they marveled, as they gushed. They trusted her modesty. They owned her, had earned her. She was their just desserts for their applied acuity, their tireless efforts. Jasper sometimes felt as though he was the only one really fucking looking at her. To him, she presented as something barely contained. She vibrated. Her downward gaze burned a hole under their feet. After and always, her silence roared in his brain. Jasper stood in the doorway, watching Lucy watch her creation. The word, Jasper, the word. I believe I have chosen well at last. The bloody word may or may not have started it all, but it sure as fuck is going to end it.
Thank you so much. That was fucking gorgeous. That was really awesome. Thank you. All right. Our next reader was born and raised in the Midwest. Caitlin Cowan's poetry, fiction, and nonfiction are forthcoming or have appeared in the Rumpus, New Ohio Review, Missouri Review, Denver Quarterly, Smoke Long Quarterly, Rappahannock Review, and elsewhere. She holds a PhD in English and has taught writing at the University of North Texas, Texas Women's University, and Interlochen Center for the Arts. She serves as the Associate Poetry Editor for Pilates, and she works, travels, and teaches for Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp in Twin Lake, Michigan. Welcome, Caitlin. The floor is yours.
Hi, y'all. This has been such a great and exciting and unpredictable reading, and I'm loving it. So thank you for listening. My poems only have one fuck a piece, so I thought I would up the fuck quotient by reading someone else's poem first. This is Feeling Fucked Up by Etheridge Knight. Lord, she's gone, done left me, done packed up and split, and I with no way to make her come back, and everywhere the world is bare, bright, bone white, crystal sand glistens, dope, death, dead, dying and jiving, drove her away, made her take her laughter and her smiles and her softness and her midnight sighs. Fuck Coltrane and music and clouds drifting in the sky. Fuck the sea and trees and the sky and birds and alligators and all the animals that roam the earth. Fuck Marx and Mao. Fuck Fidel and Nkrumah and democracy and communism. Fuck smack and pot and red ripe tomatoes. Fuck Joseph. Fuck Mary. Fuck God, Jesus, and all the disciples. Fuck Fannin, Nixon, and Malcolm. Fuck the revolution. Fuck freedom. Fuck the whole motherfucking thing. All I want now is my woman back so my soul can sing. That poem is so wonderful and I just love it. And it's so fun to read. And this is the best possible setting to read it in. Okay, so now to my one fuck a piece poems. These poems are from my manuscript, Happy Everything. I'm sending it out into the world now. This is What's Left of Michigan. The first time I tasted you, it was forbidden. A curse. We were 18 in my mama's house, sweating coldly to the ticking of frozen bark on maples. Here, though Ford feeds families, it also stands for fucker only runs downhill, which you said so loudly I worried she'd hear. I pressed my fingertips, still stung from digging the car out to get you, over your smile. Winter's skin cooled with our own as we dozed, naked, clandestine in my old brass bed. That year, the house down the street hawked cemetery blankets and poinsettias, their prices spray painted on plywood. Though she silenced my swearing, Mama would hiss the word shithole as we drove by, like she'd never seen the litter of Carr husks flanking their lawn, the bony swing sets with gone children. This is home, these dead streets and this chalkboard sky. Those hummocks of soiled snow I shoveled so quickly, my heart protested. Mama begged me to lift more slowly, but I had to get out. I had to get out when I sped past the shithole years later, this time peddling wreaths and spaniel puppies that would drown in the freezing stream. When I arrived, I ended us, rewarded my own frigid scooping by turning you out, pointing you home. It was, yes, cold. I came inside and throbbed with awful heat, fetal in that same damn bed. Mama called you asshole, pindick, turd. I held her while she vomited the night that Daddy left. So when she told me I wouldn't die from this, I listened. She stroked my hair. The window panes creaked their ascent. This next poem is called Folie à famille. It's a kind of family delusion that Freud described. It starts with a quote from the New Yorker about they're like refugee children who start to exhibit physiological symptoms because of their grief and their trauma. The quote says, Antonovsky suggests, as Freud did, that psychological illness is born of narrative incoherence, a life story veering off course. Folie à famille. One time I spent the whole session balloon lettering "fuck you" onto a yellow legal pad. I had been mum for weeks, and the men in the room were rapt. She's writing us a message, one said, and boy, was I ever. The dust motes haloed my head while I scrawled my holy writ. Another time, Mama slipped a tape recorder into my pocket. It's not fair, she said, showing me how to use it. Two big men ganging up on a little girl. I had, of course, used it before to record the dumb story of my young life. I could feel it in my pocket during those long weeks, heavy as Daddy's big textbooks. At night, I'd creep from bed and scan the words for broken, aphasia, agnosia, amnesia. Afterwards, she'd listen to every word, cluck her tongue, and wind the tape back into a waiting asp. These were the days when I still knew every part of the story. They met, they had me, we were we. One time, I spent the whole session with my eyes closed. I saw dangerous weather map hues, though my hands weren't pressing my lids. I never knew whether I was well or ill, dreamed of being bedridden like Beth, Joe helping her die in that novel. We were not sick but simple, believed there were still threads tying us, still more rungs on a ladder that would lift us. The last time I ran from the musty office and leapt on the hood of his Yukon. I clambered to its pollen-dusted roof and sat there, took root like a lotus, my tendrils searching the depths. I had no plan other than make it stop. Those two big men stood there dumbstruck, in awe of me. I think she's trying to make a statement, one said. She looks like a martyr, said the other. One of those men was a doctor. One of those men was my father. Thanks for listening, y'all. I just have one more. It's called Happy New Year, the prose poem. Year of too many keys on the key ring for too many not my houses. Year of my car's trunk choked with smoke-drunk clothes. You stopped kissing me on the mouth that year. Year of why is that bitch's handwriting on my chalkboards and grocery lists. Your pantry swelled with potato chips that year because I was the one who cooked. Year of bar food and bar tabs and the bar closing. Year of moth bodies hurling themselves against strange window panes. More than once I slept on the driver's side when I came home and found the deadbolt thrown. Little year of amateur gemology so I wouldn't get screwed. Longer year of getting screwed nonetheless. I never had any money and always wanted to go home that year. I never knew what address to give. Year of spooning friends' mutts and singing love songs into their blushing ears. Year of stroking sayonara into our cat's black stripes. That was the year of my feet's filthy bottoms because no one kept a house like I did. Year of not wanting to ever keep a house again. Year of taking down the photographs and swaddling them like suffocating babies. Yes, the year every synonym for betrayal rhymed my teeth. You said you fucked her out of grief. The year of losing face and remembering that I have a face. But let me yet utter another truth. That too was the year of goddamn. I have never been happier than I am now. Yes, that was the year of loving the permanence of stars. The year of whispering their frozen names. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was fucking beautiful. All right. Our next reader, we have Jayne Martin, who is a Pushcart Best Small Fictions and Best Microfictions nominee and a recipient of Vestal Review's Vera Award. Her collection of microfiction, Tender Cuts, published by Vine Leaves Press, is available now. Her memoir, The Daddy Chronicles, Memoir of a Fatherless Daughter, is forthcoming from Whiskey Tick Books in spring 2020. Welcome, Jayne, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Wow, this night is just blowing me away. You're all so brilliant, and it's such an honor to be here and listen to you read. I'm going to read some material from the forthcoming memoir, The Daddy Chronicles. If you happen to identify as fatherless, drop me a note in the chat. I'd like to know. This is the prologue. It's called Ode to the Lone Sperm. Eager little swimmer, perhaps my competitive nature comes from you, who didn't get the memo that fertilization was not my father's intent. Content as he was to have my mother all to himself, but you failed to notice your brethren's sperm treading water, not even trying to tell you to ease up, little fella. This guy's just going through the motions where emotions would never bloom. And in your haste to win the race, a child growing in the shadow of his withholding, a child always wondering why. And then he is gone. When Daddy leaves us for the last time, he wears a blue pinstripe suit with a freshly pressed handkerchief in his chest pocket, a fedora hat, and black Oxfords that shine like new pennies. Tall and oh so handsome, he looks just like one of those movie stars that smile out from the covers of magazines Mommy keeps on her vanity. My small hands press against the window. I draw a heart with my finger in the circle of my breath as I watch him carry his suitcase across the busy street, growing smaller with each step he takes away from us. The bell of a cable car rings out as it passes by, and then he is gone, never having turned, never seen me still waving long after he disappears. My heart melts and slides down the glass. For weeks after that, I still ask, when is Daddy coming home? He had left us before, left and came back, left and came back. Upon his return, I would run into his arms, his embrace short and stiff, but enough for me to breathe in his scent, cloves and pine, capturing it in my memory like a firefly in a mason jar. You knew he wasn't a family man when you married him, my grandmother says to my mother, but she is looking at me. And though I don't know what family man means, I see Mommy crying again. When Daddy comes back, I'll be such a good girl, I promise. My stomach starts to hurt, and I crawl up into Daddy's chair, my bare legs sticking to the leather, my tiny bottom trying to fill the space left by his, and wonder what I could have done to make him stay. Just the two of us. The morning sun warms our one-bedroom apartment. After bouncing from relative to relative, it's just Mommy and me. Mommy's put up curtains, white, with daisies embroidered along the edges like those I pick from gardens. He loves me not. For the first time, I make friends. Every day after school, I go play with Franny. Her large stone and brick house has kids hollering, running around, and hanging out of every window. There's always a big pitcher of Kool-Aid in the refrigerator, and I can help myself, like I've one of the family, and no one ever asks where my dad is. Franny is the youngest. She has 6 older sisters and brothers, and another baby is on the way. There's always another one on the way. They're Catholic. And now so am I, even though I don't really know what that means. Sometimes Franny still sucks her thumb. We dig a hole in the corner of her backyard. All the way to China, we shout. We climb a tree sit on the lowest branch, sucking on pixie sticks. We talk about movie stars we will marry, our houses next door to each other. Franny wants 4 kids. I don't want any. There are tons of hiding places, and hide and seek goes on for hours. Curled in the back of her parents' closet, I slip my feet inside her dad's slippers. I imagine never being found. Franny's mom telling mine, I'm sorry, we looked and looked. Where I learn about God. In my maroon jumper, white blouse, and polished white Oxfords, I look like every other first grader at St. Matthew's Catholic School. And like every other kid, it turns out I have a father named God, who art in heaven, a place we go when we die if we're good. Franny and I can't sit next to each other because we talk in class. That is not good. I learned the word sin. I learned the word confession, and that God is watching, always watching. I learn about praying, where we can ask God for stuff. He's sounding more and more like Santa, except Santa usually brings me what I ask for. I pray and pray, but Daddy never calls. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jayne. That's fucking heartbreaking, but it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move on to our final reader of the night. Brian Allen Carr has the honor of taking it home. He is an Aspen Word Literary Prize finalist and a recipient of 2 Wonderland Book Awards. He is the author of several books, including Motherfucking Sharks and Opioid Indiana. Brian, it is yours. Take the floor.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's been super fun. Y'all are writing glorious and grimy stuff, and I love it, man. So I had a typo in my table of contents in my first book, and instead of a story being called Slug Trail, it was called Slug Trail number 1. So my second book, I wrote a little piece called Slug Trail number 2 to make it seem like the typo wasn't a typo. And I'm gonna read like the Slug Trail number 1, and then these little fragments that lead to Slug Trail number 2. So this is Slug Trail number 1. 1, it's hard to shop when you're hungry and sad. 2, if the leprosy returns, I can hold them hostage with my rock. 3, on a bus ride through Texas, I walked next to a man who stared over me through the window and out across the plains. The man was not beside me before I fell asleep. He was wearing a camouflage jacket and his breath smelled of licorice. He had red, murky eyes and white, ashy skin. My father made all of it, he said. I looked out the window at the flat land streaming by. What, like God, I asked? The man rubbed his face and flecks of skin swirled in the air. You're funny to me, he said. I've met the black you. He smiled. The black me, I asked? Yep, everybody has one of black them. I met yours in Savannah and a candy shop by the river. He threw me a warm taffy. He was you, but in black. So all people that are black have white thems running around, I said. The man laughed. The laughter woke a sleeping baby. The baby cried and cried. You see, he said, you're funny. Thanks, I said. Then the man looked at the flooring beneath his seat. Holy shit, holy fucking shit, he said. What, I said. He stomped his feet. He leaned in close. He put a finger to his lips. This bus, it leaves a slug trail. 4, if I pull the alarm, they'll run from fear of fire. 5, my 4th grade teacher had a tattoo, a woman on his forearm that he liked to make dance. He watched me as I watched it dancing. 6, most of them did not scream, but they walked to the exits looking up at the sirens as they called. The train of people all headed for doors. 7, you could follow the slug trail back to the start of the bus. 8, with my rod, I will back them into corners. 9, then we sat in the parking lot. We wanted to go back in. There was no smoke. There were families and friends in bundles talking about the alarm. There were security guards on segways maneuvering through the crowds. I sat on the asphalt, Indian style as the sirens sang. Then a man, dark as a red wine bottle, stood beside me where I sat. He lifted his shirt sleeve to show me his arm. There was a woman tattooed on it. He flexed and the woman danced. He watched as I watched it. I smiled. I've met the white you, I told him. The man dropped his shirt sleeve and shook his head. Shit, he said. If I had a dime for every time somebody told me that. And now I'll move to Slug Trail number 2. Boys Town number 1. His soot looked toy store made and his eyes seemed sugar loaded. He stood on the street corner and called to us singingly. $5 pussy wagon, he said, each word wrapped in petals of music. Fucky, fucky, sucky, suck. I will take you to another place where money counts as luck. You don't have to be pretty for your soul to house of shame. Come along, get inside. We'd been looking for him, but he still came as a shock to us. His posture was regal. 3 or 4 of his teeth were capped in gold. There dangled a chain from his neck. He stood beside a flat maroon Lincoln. He flung open the rear passenger door. It sang like a rusty spring. We nodded and lowered ourselves against the sun-smoothed interior. We expected the car to smell like cigarette ash or food heavy with onion. Instead, it had a flavor not unlike cinnamon gum. So this is from Vampire Conditions, which is my second book, and it's old. But I don't cuss as much as I used to. So I found old angry cuss word shit to read. Boys Town number 2. No one did anything. Those ladies have diseases. We sat drinking in the dingy room. If you were there in the daytime, you'd most likely convulse. Christ, those are Vampire Conditions. Music from untuned guitars. We drank Coronitas, bottled 7-ounce beers. We wanted to see if we could fit one into the empty spread of a hooker. We had $5. She rolled her eyes like we'd annoyed her. She put a leg on the table and raised her skirt to her belly. What are you waiting for? She asked. A small crowd gathered. I can't explain all I witnessed. Everyone seemed curious. There were sounds, but no words for them. Whatever I saw was sort of erased from my eyes. Anyhow, I'd rather not dwell on the details. The best I can say is, it's snug, but it goes. Boys Town number 3. That earlier bit may have been a lie. Someone needed money. We paid in part and fled. Hookers screaming in that way that only hookers can. Pockets were empty, but cab fare had been squandered. We hitched a ride with a weekend guy who spoke bad English. Come over to see the ladies, we asked. Oh no, he said. I'm very, very gay. On the bridge over Putrid, back when you could cross in clumps. The agents eyed us. Bringing anything in, he asked. I rubbed my hands. I thought a moment. My friends all laughed when I confessed that only a test could tell for certain. Slug Trail number 2. Some things removed will follow you back in glistening trails you can trace toward the ghoulish deeds left done. You can step into the same river twice. Larger still, that river can step inside of you. A current unforgiving, swimming to your center, as if to say, you might leave me, but I'll barely ever leave you. Thanks, guys.
Ryan, that was fucking wild. Awesome. I love listening to you read. You put so much into that. All right, so that brings us to the end of our reading lineup. I want to take a moment to thank everybody that participated. And for those of you that are not aware, I kind of put a call out onto Twitter. So I want to thank everybody for volunteering because this is totally all volunteer based. So I'm very flattered and honored to have you guys all here, and you all did an absolutely fucking phenomenal job. So take yourselves off of mute and give each other a round of applause. Awesome, awesome, awesome evening.
Hey, thank you,
So
Laura.
good.
You did an awesome
That was
job
awesome.
too.
Yes, thank you, Lori.
Also
What a
getting rid
great
of
group.
the 2 porn stars that we had crash. Crash their
Well,
week.
truth in advertising, you said it was a,
There we go.
what can you do?
We kind of asked for it.
What can you do?
Reading to remember.
Yeah, right. All right, so I'm going to take us off of recording. Give me 1 second.